cross-sectional studies, another type of environmental studies, uh, the difference between longitudinal studies and the cross-sectional studies is that in cross-sectional studies, you study a particular phenomena at the same time by looking at the different groups of people, people at different environmental stages. So the difference between longitudinal studies and the cross-sectional studies is that instead of studying the same group over an extended time period, you take different groups which are at different ages and you study them at the same time. And the assumption is whatever differences you find in these people can be attributed to development. So you pick grade 1s, grade 4s, grade 6, grade 8, study their mathematical abilities at the same time. And your assumption being that the performance you observe in grade 4 is differently from the performance in grade 1, simply because grade 4 students are more developed, older, they are more mature than grade 1 pupils. That way you avoid the practical difficulties of the longitudinal studies. Since you are conducting the study at the same time, you don't have to worry about committing yourself for an extended time period. You don't have to worry about the availability of resources for conducting the studies in future. But longitudinal studies have a major problem, and that is the problem of chance differences. If you pick grade 1 students and you pick grade 4 students, should we assume that if all these students were in the same class, their ability to continue would have been the same? It's very possible that the grade 4s were high achievers than the grade 1s. Or reverse, the grade 1s are higher achievers than grade 4s. So you may see a difference between grade 4 performance and grade 1 performance, but maybe not the gap may not be that wide, simply because the grade 1s are more intelligent pupils than the grade 4s. So the problem of chance differences can seriously bias your results. Making sense? Yeah. Because one way of dealing with that problem is to use the larger sample sizes. You remember the golden rule or something else? The larger the sample size, the more representative that sample is going to be to the population. Questions? Another extraneous variable which can cause problems in interpreting the results is the situational variables which occur in the study period. For example, selective attrition, in the population. Um, let's say that in the grade 1 pupils, you have all the grade 1s who are available for that area. They are all in grade 1. But by the time they get to grade 4, some of them have started dropping out. So the grade 4 you are using to assess compared to grade 1, the grade 4 has already experienced some dropouts. And lo and behold, maybe the ones who have dropped out have certain characteristics not similar to the ones who have remained in class. So you are actually in a situation where you're comparing apples and oranges. The grade 1s are composed of all types of abilities in them. The grade 4s, certain types of abilities have dropped out. That will be a problem. So the differences you find will not be only explained by the document. These are variables. Similarly, if the people teaching mathematics, the mathematics teachers are different in terms of their skills in teaching, you will also experience some differences and start thinking that these differences are because of development. Yet maybe the grade 4 teacher is a better mathematics teacher than the grade 1 teacher. The classrooms they are using, maybe the classroom that grade 1 pupils use is better than the classroom that grade 4 pupils use. All those differences can create challenges in the interpretation of your results. Questions? So, cross-sectional studies tend to suffer from extraneous variables which occur in the process of conducting the study, which they confuse the interpretation of your results. But the advantage is that the challenges associated with longitudinal studies, you will tend to avoid those challenges. So, when you are choosing your study design, you have to think about the advantages and disadvantages of each of these. With a trade-off. Cross-sectional studies are usually preferred when you are studying typical characteristics in the population. If your interest is just to say what differences are there between grade 1s and grade 4s, between grade 4s and grade 6, between grade 6 and grade 8, then cross-sectional studies may be the best because they're just looking at differences. But if you're looking at the change over time, then longitudinal studies will be more preferred. Because you have the same sample and you are looking at the change which is occurring in the sample over time. the problem of extraneous variables is there in longitudinal studies, but much less. Since you are looking at the same group, my example for differences in teachers' ability will not be one. Because whether they are being taught by a good mathematics teacher or a poor mathematics teacher, but they are experiencing the same kind of condition. So changes can be attributed to the way. Whether they are in a good class or classroom or a poor classroom, but everybody is experiencing the same condition. So that's why, if you are looking at change, better longitudinal studies. But if you are looking at the differences between groups of people at a different developmental stages, then cross-sectional studies can be obvious to do that. Questions about cross-sectional studies? Mind you, we are still on what? Descriptive studies. Yeah. So if you just stay upon that and start using descriptive method, what you do about. For our studies. Yeah, this is another type of developmental studies. Follow-up studies are similar to longitudinal studies, whereby you study a particular group over time. But in follow-up studies, you introduce some treatment at a particular stage of development to see what is the effect of that treatment on the variable you are studying. That example I was talking about of mathematical skills. You take a class, study their abilities in grade 1, abilities in grade 2, abilities in grade 3. And you know that there is a new teaching technique which helps students gain better skills in mathematical abilities. So in grade 4, you decide to introduce that new teaching technique, and you want to see whether the developmental level, the rate of development will change among these students because of the new teaching technique you have introduced. That will be referred to as longitudinal studies. So let's say you start at this stage, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and let me use test in grade 1, testing in grade 1, testing in grade 2, grade 3. In grade 4, you introduce a treatment, a new teaching technique. And you want to see, here there is that treatment, which is obviously showing that there is an increase in achievements. Now, if you introduce the teaching technique, what's going to happen? What you will be looking for will be something like that. Increasing rate of achievement, but here the increase is very fast. And then later on you will see how that trend continues. So you will administer that grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. And then you can be able to say, okay, the treatment changed. But you will also ask the question, did this change affect the rate in the subsequent years? Because here again it would have been, other than that, it would have been that which is much steeper than this. Simply because of this treatment here, it has generally influenced their rate of development later on. But it would also be it's similar. So studies which look at the effect of a treatment at some period in the longitudinal studies are called follow-up studies. Follow-up because now you are studying the performance after the treatment. Does it make sense? Is it making sense?
Yes.
Okay. When you are white, you become habituous to it. You don't know whether you're understood or you're not understood. Yeah?
Jesus.
You didn't understand.
Give it back.
We are saying that the follow-up studies are very similar to student studies. Because what we are doing here, by administering the test as the students are developing, is a longitudinal study. But because you are introduced a treatment here, then you want to study how the group is developing following the treatment you have made. Has the treatment changed the rate of development among these people? Or it has no influence? That is for our studies. And in my example, I've just shown that it's also possible that you give the treatment and this will go this way. Yes.
Will you please give a little example?
Well, I gave one. The teaching mathematics. You as a researcher, let's say you are an educationist doing a PhD in education. Then you are interested to look at the performance of students as they grow. But then you also know that there's a new teaching technique which can help students perform better. So you want to assess the effectiveness of that teaching technique. For you to do so, you need to understand the trend of performance when they were young as they are growing. And then you teach them and look at the trend of performance after teaching them. Is the trend changing? If the trend is changing, then you can argue to say, yeah, this new teaching technique has made these people improve the rate of development in mathematical skills.
So the new teaching technique is treatment.
Yes. The new teaching technique is a treatment that you have manipulated the natural value.
But you cannot do that in the longitudinal study?
Well, actually, this is a longitudinal study,
Okay.
but because you have introduced the treatment, then it is called a follow-up
Okay.
study.
So this follow-up study is being longitudinal study, which is also part of the prescriptive.
Yes,
Okay.
description. Of course, you remember I said that the research varies in a continuum way. So what we are doing is we are moving from being purely descriptive, we are going towards experimental. The fact that you have introduced this treatment, you are going towards experimental, but you are not there Yes, because there is no control here. You are using the simple as a control for itself. But the experimental studies will basically have a treatment. So you are moving on a continuum, but you are still restricting studies. Documentary analysis, also called content analysis, is another way of conducting descriptive studies.
Documentary analysis.
Content
Content.
analysis,
It's also called content.
yeah. Some people call it documentary analysis, some people call it content analysis. This type of study looks at documents and assesses certain phenomena in those documents. Let's say, for example, if I had a question, a research question, to say, how has Chewa language changed over time? You know Chewa, right? Or even English language changed over time. You know that if you took Chewa books written in the 6 cities and you look at the language which was being used at that time, compare it to Chewa books written in the 80s, you look at the language used at that time, you take Chewa books written in the 2000s, you look at the language which was being used, you are likely to find that the same aspect was called different in the 60s than it is called today, showing change in the language. You will also see how the language is becoming richer, adopting new technologies and expanding over time. Based on the developments. People in the 60s never talked about the computer in Malawi. In 1966, when I was being counted as one of the Malawians that time, we never knew that there's a computer. But our language today has included the word computer, has included the word cell phone. If I go in the village to a woman who has never gone to school and I say, I think I'm cell phone, they will know. So it has been theorized. So the language is much getting richer and developed. And you can do those studies using content analysis. So you don't have to go out. You sit on the desk, you take all the books together, and you just go tracing the sort of things that occur. You can do that in historians are the best. In fact, in most of the history studies, this is a very common way of conducting their studies. But you can do it in agriculture, in community services, in social work. The people were doing social work in 1960. How different is social work in 2008? I don't think what they were doing, the problems they were experiencing in terms of social work in the 6 cities are the same as the problems being experienced today. And you can conduct a very good study about how social work has developed over time in Malawi, how business studies have developed over time, how have those developments influenced economic development, how have those developments influenced many other aspects. So you can do the same. You can use this economic analysis and do the same things like we talk about experimental studies, disciplinary studies. Are we making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maybe today we can stop there.
No.
Thank you.
I want to meet the team leaders, group leaders.